some gaps or some things that I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know enough about Planning Center to make this a smooth process. I need to learn more. And so people are saying already done. Some people have it coming up. And I think the weeks prior, like weeks following the move update, is really a great time to kind of dig into your Planning Center profiles and things that we're going to, I think, talk about today, right, Amy?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So today, what I was hoping to kind of focus in on was, so yeah, obviously back to school, like that's a big attendance spike for a lot of people, a
Yeah.
lot of churches, because everybody's kind of getting back in from that like the summer rhythm. Goodness, that was hard to say for some reason. Summer rhythm. Um,
Southern rhythm is what you were going to
yeah, I was
say.
about to
I was
say
like,
that, the
that too,
summer
right?
rhythm. Either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, the summer rhythm. So they're kind of like getting back into the swing of
Mhm.
things. So like not only, are you getting that attendance spike, a lot of times we're also
Yeah.
trying to like manage those grade promotions and things. So today,
Yeah.
what I was hoping to kind of go over, obviously we're going to talk about promotions and things like that, but also I want to give you guys, I have like 5 wins that
I
won't
love
cause you to have to do a massive amount of work in your planning center account, but they're just like quick little tips, little like secrets and little things you might not have known about that you could implement this week and have a smoother weekend this weekend. Just, kind of small, practical, like, hey,
love
maybe you didn't know about these little things here and there. So I've got 5 like main things with like little tips kind of like nested in my little 5 categories. And promotion, of course, is absolutely one of
is one
those.
of them.
Yeah,
That's
because that's
awesome.
that's a that's a big one, and there's a lot of ways that you can kind of attack it, but we have a really cool tool that not a lot of people know about that I am excited to share.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to dive into it. So maybe we can start with promotions since we're kind of already talking about it. I'm curious, Hannah, did you guys do promotions at your church too recently?
We did. Back when I was in kids ministry full time, promotions were, pulling your hair out. So it
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get everybody in their new class and their new grade and all of that? So I'm excited for today's tips too.
Yeah, I'm
Hey,
excited.
exciting.
And so, well, Amy, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to you on what do you have to show us with some practical tips for promotion?
Absolutely. Okay, so starting with promotion, what I'm going to do, if it's okay with you, can I share my screen? Because sometimes
Yeah,
it's just a little easier to talk about
absolutely.
these things
Please
if you're
do.
if you're kind of looking at it. So one thing that I always like to tell people, like step one, when it comes time to promote, can you all see my screen there?
Yes.
Perfect. And then I'm going to move something out of the way so that I can see you all as well. Sorry, the little Zoom menu thing likes to move
Yeah,
around
you're
on
good.
us. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we're set. So yeah, promoting grades. Right now we're looking at check-ins, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch over to people because when that time of year comes where you want to promote all the kiddos, we have a tool for that. Now, some people, maybe coming from past systems that you maybe have used, like to promote grades one at a time, but we've built a tool specifically for that to where you don't have to promote grades one at a time anymore. So what you can do is just pop over to the People app. Now, one thing I typically like to mention is if you're concerned that your church doesn't use People, you do. This is a free app for every account. Everybody has access, or everybody has it. If you don't see it, it might mean that you just don't have access to it. So you might need to talk to somebody about that. But everybody has the People product, even if you can't see it. This is like the center of Planning Center. This is where everybody, all the profiles live, all of that good stuff. And in here, we have a grade promotion tool. And the reason I like to talk to people about this one is because it's kind of nested away in this little settings drawer. There's kind of a balance here where promotion is meant to be done by one person once a year, because you don't want
Yeah.
everybody seeing this button because then, 10 people hit it in the same day and everybody moved up 10 grades. You know what I mean? Which even if that did
Oops.
happen, that's okay. We have a plan for that too. But obviously, we don't want you to have to go through that. So it's kind of nested away in this little settings drawer here. But if you come in here, there's this promote grades option. And if you
Oh,
click right here, it opens up a little modal. It's a pretty simple little space because we kind of take care of everything for you behind the scenes. What this is going to do is it's going to move everybody up one grade. You can
wow.
choose if you want to include pre-K, just because we know sometimes people use pre-K for,
Right.
2-year-olds through 5-year-olds, and you don't want all your 2-year-olds to end up in kindergarten. So some people like to
Yeah.
do that a little more manually. So we recognize that. We've made this one optional to where you don't have to promote it. But then you just hit this button. We'll move everybody up one grade for you. And then also, if someone has already done this recently, there's a little recent promotions button right here. You can see this. I believe it's 2 weeks outside of somebody promoting. So I always encourage people, pay attention. If you see that button, that means someone has done it recently, like within 2 weeks recently. And that probably means you probably don't need to do it again.
Yeah.
Because that'll
Yeah.
move
For real.
everybody up 2 weeks. So recent promotions, you can click on this, and it will open up sometime. I actually just promoted not long ago, so it's probably still loading. There it goes. So you can see I've done a promotion recently in 811. You do have the option to undo it. So even if you get in a situation where 2 people just weren't aware and went in and clicked that button and moved everybody up 2 grades, you can absolutely undo one of them and put everybody back. So it's a pretty low risk
awesome.
tool to
Yeah.
use. We tried to make it, just as foolproof as possible, but you can promote everybody. If people are if you have students in the 12th grade, they'll just get bumped out. They won't be in a grade anymore and their school will be removed. But it's a very simple tool. You just pop in here, you hit the button, you move everybody up a grade. And if for some reason you realize, oh, we weren't actually ready to do that, or, someone already did it, you can just undo it. So that is one of my favorite tools in Planning Center. I love telling people about that at conferences because sometimes people just don't know
Yeah.
it's there and they're like, oh my goodness, that's going to save us so much time.
Yes. Yes.
So anyways, the grade promotion tool. Once a year, one person, it lives in people. That's kind of the quick tip for that one.
Yeah.
Now, some people do like what we recommend, if you're in a situation where you didn't know that that button existed, and so maybe we haven't promoted in a couple years and people's data just isn't quite right, we have tips for that. I'd recommend you reach out to our support team because they can walk you through what you need to do to kind of get things back on track to where you can start using that promotion tool and it not, just ultimately add to making things more messy, if that makes sense. So definitely reach out to our support team if you're concerned about, the current state of your data, and we can help you kind of get it realigned so that you can utilize that tool next year. But yeah, so that's the promotion tool. From there, what I was going to do was flip over and kind of talk about how these interact with check-ins locations so that you can make sure kids are getting into the right rooms. You can kind of see how grade interacts with the locations. So what I'm going to do is jump over to check-ins. So now you've got all your kiddos in the correct grade because you've promoted. In theory, that's all you should need to do for getting kids into the right room. So for example, I'm going to go in here to my Sunday morning event and I'm going to look at my locations. So right here, I've got some of my locations filtered by grade, which just means it's only going to allow kids to check into that location if they're in that grade. So at the point where you hit that promotion button and everybody moves up, if I had a 2nd grader who moved to 3rd grade, they still qualify for this room. They're not going to see a change at the station. But if I had a 3rd grader who's now in 4th grade, they're going to get a little notice at the station that says, hey, your location has changed, and we're going to automatically make sure that they're being suggested this 4th and 5th grade room, and we'll tell them, so that you don't have to make sure everybody's paying really close attention to their name tags on that upgrade weekend. We'll put a little banner out there that's like, hey, your location changed, so that hopefully the parents see it as well. But yeah, so that's kind of how it interacts with check-ins locations. I've also got another couple little quick tips as far as, getting kids moved up who are pre-grade, because I know the grade side is just one of it. And then you've kind of got the preschool side as well, where sometimes you need different tools to upgrade those kiddos. We've actually got a new feature called milestones. I say new, it's been out for a couple months now, but it's kind of tucked away in a folder. So I always love to tell people about this one as well. So typically what we recommend is that if you have preschool age kiddos, you go by age. Because they're not in the grade system yet. So which means when they turn a certain, age, they're going to qualify for a certain classroom. But sometimes churches describe to us that, I want to make sure kids are in rooms based on their developmental milestone because we want to make sure they're in the safest environment possible. Typically, this is like a nursery situation where you maybe have a room for walkers and you maybe have a room for crawlers because you want to make sure that the little walking kiddos aren't, tripping over all the ones that are trying to crawl and, making sure that it's a safe space for everybody. So it's not necessarily there's not a hard age that everybody learns to crawl. It varies, by many, many, many months. Different kiddos learn these things at different times. Even between my own 2 kiddos, I think it was like a 6-month difference, between them learning how to crawl. So we have a tool in here that you can utilize for when it's time, making sure that kiddos are getting into the room when you need them to get into the room. called milestones. And what you need to do to find this is put your locations that you want to be, that kind of fit that description, where it's like, oh, it's a little more fluid. It's based on, infant, walker, crawler, or like potty trained, not potty trained, things like that, into a folder. So you can add a folder into your check-ins locations. So if you put those rooms in a folder, those 3 locations, in our instance, we have 3. Then when you go into the folder settings, you can choose how you want it distributed, meaning like, do you want it kind of where the first location fills up and then the second location fills up and then the third one, or balanced, like, oh, I want it to kind of round robin place kiddos into the room. The third one is milestones, which means you can assign a milestone name to each of your locations, so that they can, at the station, there'll be like a little prompt and the parent will see infant, crawling, walking, and they can choose which milestone their kiddo's at, and that will route them to the right room. And then the parent can change that at the point where they, maybe they've learned to walk over the weekend, they're feeling pretty steady and they won't think it's time to move them up. They can just tap on that, change their selection, and it'll route the kiddo to the new room and let them know like, hey, you're in a new location. So that is a really powerful tool if your church runs on a little bit more of like a milestone system for that like early childhood age range, if that makes sense. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that's huge. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that you guys had all these different options. That's a game changer, I think, for a lot of people. That's amazing.
Yes, I love these options. And also, I know I'm going to say it again, and I'll probably say it like 10 more times. If you need help managing any of these options, because we want this, part of our goal for check-ins is for it to be flexible. So we want to provide a lot of options because all ministries look different and people promote at different times and they want kids moving into rooms at different times, sometimes based on like the space that's in your building. Sometimes you don't have an option. So we put a lot of tools in here to make sure you can run it the way you need to run it. But with that, comes a lot of like context of learning where all the tools are and things. So don't hesitate to
Yeah.
reach out to our support team and just say like, hey, here's kind of what we're hoping for, and we'll show you the best way to set it up. So don't feel overwhelmed if you're like, I don't remember where to find that option. Just reach
Yeah.
out to support. This little question mark anywhere inside a planning center, you can get a hold of support and they'll answer you less than an hour,
I love
within
it.
regular business hours. So I'll probably say that like 3 more times and then I'll
Yeah,
stop.
right. Yeah, everybody loves the support at Planning Center. You all are so attentive and you genuinely care. And from
Thank
my
you so much.
understanding, you all have had some sort of ministry experience. So it's not even just that you guys are expert in Planning Center, but you guys have walked what so many people have also walked yourselves.
Yeah, a lot of them have, and they really,
Yeah.
really care about ministry. And they want to help you succeed. So it's not just, don't think about it like just pure tech support, like, oh,
Yeah.
something on my computer is broken. Think about it like I need to problem solve how to use this tool well. And they
Yeah,
are very, very
absolutely.
good at that. So please reach out to them.
Love it.
But
Aimee,
yeah,
we have somebody that is asking a question I'm hoping maybe you can help with.
yeah.
They said, how can we use milestones if we do the check-in directly? We currently do not have stations for the parents.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so in that instance, if you don't have stations for the parents to interact with and you're just kind of doing it on the admin side, a lot of times, because they'll just name the location after the milestone, if that makes sense. So like you'll have a location called infants, crawlers, walkers, and when you as the admin are assigning the kiddo to the station, you have full control over which one you're picking. If I'm understanding the question correctly, please tell me if I'm not. But that's usually what we see in that instance. If you're kind of controlling the whole check-in process, you just name the locations after, or they'll name it, like Little Bears, and then in parentheses, it'll say crawlers, and you can select those and make sure that they're getting filtered into the right room. Because I assume there's probably some kind of like a parent conversation happening to where you would know what they would want their child to be in, or what you all would want them to be in, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
let me know if that doesn't address the question. I'll absolutely, I can expound more on that.
Yeah, she said answered correctly. Thank you.
Yay.
So you're good.
We did have a question a few minutes ago, and I think you answered this, but want to make sure. I think the question was, is there a way to see grades that have recently been promoted? Where do you go like outside of that button you showed us? Is there another place we see it? Can you walk us through that?
That is a fabulous question. Yes, I had actually intended to show you all that as a backup step. So I'm so glad someone asked that. Way
Wonderful.
to go. That's amazing. Yes, there is absolutely a place. If you go to someone's profile in People, this is another one of my favorite tools. There is something called the activity log. So I'm going to find a kiddo whose grade was probably just updated. Let's do Zoe. Yeah, she's in the 5th grade. So right here, if I go to activity, you can see right here that her grade moved up on this day at this time, profile was edited. So you can see that the grade was recently promoted. Now, if you see this on a couple people's profiles and that timestamp is all the same, that was probably a bulk action or a bulk promotion tool that was done there. So that would be my recommendation if you're like, oh, I want to know if it happened more than 2 weeks ago, like maybe that button disappeared and I just need to know if somebody did it a while back, go to the people activity log and you can check that out and see when their information changed.
That's great.
That you can see a while back. Obviously, this is a test account. So like sometimes we like test things and move the grades back around. So anyways, it's probably not reflective of what you would actually see, but
Right.
you can see it right here. But yeah, no, that was an excellent question. I'm so glad you brought that up.
I love it. That's awesome. All right. What other kind of things would you suggest for, oh, wait, sorry, there is another question. Hold
Oh
on.
yeah,
Our
absolutely.
system sometimes forgets the child's grade and we have to add it in when the child checks in each Sunday. Should I contact PC support directly about something like that?
I absolutely would, because that should not be happening, which makes me wonder, in planning center support, I'll give you a really high level answer, but if I had my support hat on, I would start looking to see if there was some kind of an automation doing that somewhere that maybe you're unaware of, or it's running every night. We're actually going to talk about that in a little bit, so you'll see a little more about what I mean. But if something's happening you don't expect on a regular basis, it's possible someone has turned on an automation somewhere that they didn't intend to leave running, and it could be unassigning the grade every week when the list refreshes or whatever the case is. But that would take us, our support team can take a look and help kind of sleuth some of that and problem solve it with you. We'll help find we can definitely help find the culprit of what's causing it. Another thing I would encourage you to do is look in that kiddo's profile if you have like an example kid that this keeps happening to, and take a look at when the grade is going away and look at what's doing it. Like if it's done via an automation, it'll tell you up here. So you can kind of see maybe if somebody's just changing it, like if somebody's just getting in there and doing it, you'll see what's happening. So that this is a good place to kind of get a picture if something's happening that you're not sure what it is. This activity log, it's the
great.
best.
Yeah, I love it.
Stamps all the changes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing.
Wonderful. Any other questions? I want to make sure I don't move on too fast.
No, I think that is it for now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, if there are other questions, please feel free to sometimes I get on a roll, just be like, Aimee, and I'll stop.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. Okay. The next thing that the next kind of like quick win. So that's kind of like some tools for promotion, making sure getting kids from one room to the next goes smoothly. Use that promotion button, obviously, and then, take a look at your filters. Let support take a look at your filters. Make sure they're set up the way you want, because that stuff should just happen for you. You shouldn't have to fight with it at the station every week. So if you need help with that, reach out to support. But the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about is actually in check-ins. So I'm going to pop back over to check-ins. I wanted to, a quick win is having a smooth morning with check-ins, getting people checked in quickly through those lines. I've got some tips and tricks for that you can implement this week and, probably see some improvement if you're somebody who deals with, long check-in lines or things like that. So before we kind of talk about that, I'll mention there are 3 station types, just as some background knowledge. And I know some of you probably already know this. I'm sorry if you do, but we have
This is great.
manned, self, and roster. Now, manned and self is kind of what we're zooming in on today. Roster is more of a classroom tool. That's for your teacher to know who's in the room, who left the room, who's coming down the hallway, that kind of information. You can use it for checking in if you want to, but it's primarily meant to be a teacher resource. The manned and the self station are the ones you'll see right here. It says manned, and then we've got one here that says self. That's how you can tell what kind of station you have is on the stations page. But those are more your lobby stations. Those are the ones that are meant to be out in the check-ins lobby for people to interact with and get their name tags quickly and get them into class. Now, a lot of times we see churches that have a ton of manned stations. So, or, all of your stations are manned stations because they view it as the quicker version. But one thing I would encourage you to kind of test out is having more self stations than manned. Man stations
Mhm.
are really meant to be more of like the outlier stations. Like we have a first time guest, someone had a baby, they need to add to their household. We brought a neighbor friend with us. Somebody needs to change their phone number. Those kind of like outlier things that happen, but it's not the majority of the people coming in. The self stations are meant to handle the majority, and it's quicker because it doesn't allow as wide of options, if that makes sense. So we already kind of looked at those filters and check-ins to where I showed you we're only going to let people in classrooms that they fit into so that they don't have to think about where they're supposed to be. It'll just happen for them. The self station is like how that comes to life. And so really kind of what happens is somebody walks in, they type in the last 4 digits of their phone number. Usually their whole house is pre-selected. If, they come kind of regularly, the whole house is pre-selected. The kids are filtered into where they're supposed to be. And
Yeah.
all they have to do is hit check-in and it spits out their labels. So it was last 4 digits of their phone number and check-in. And that was it. It's a
Yes.
very, very fast process if you can use more self-station than man station. Now, I'll say that with a caveat. The first couple weeks you use the self-station, your data might not be as clean as you would like it. I don't know if anybody resonates with that statement. Like, you might have old phone
Yeah.
numbers. So there might be a week or two where families are like, I typed in the last 4 digits of my phone number and nothing came up. Okay, we need to pop over to a man station and get you updated information. And then next week, they'll be good to go from that point forward. They won't ever run into that again. And you have updated data for them, which is good because we need updated phone numbers in kids ministry. That's like a really big win whenever we, can call
Yes.
mom and get the right person. So that's like beneficial to you in two different ways. But if you do switch some of your stations to self stations, maybe do it kind of slowly, like, 1 or 2 self stations and have some man stations to address the data inconsistencies. And then over time, have another self station as people's data kind of start getting cleaned up, and then add another self station and then another self station. And then eventually maybe you only have one man station. And that was great. That's going to be the quickest way. Do we have any questions before I kind of move on to the next thought there?
We do have a question.
Yes.
Check in for teachers.
Mhm.
I want a man station because sometimes my teachers are confirmed in a classroom in services, and then the sticker will print them out in another class. Why is that?
That's a great question. I would need to look at how you have your event set up, if you're using the services integration or not, because there's a couple different little caveats with how volunteers get checked in. If you're using the services integration, it should be doing it for you, and we can help you problem solve if it's not. Because there's some things that need to be lined up, like your locations need to match your position names. There's a couple different things that we can kind of look at to see why it's not making that match. If you're not using that, we do make the volunteer check-in type available behind a manned station. So that's another good, sometimes people have like a volunteer check-in station and it's a manned station. But that's for
Yeah.
safety reasons, just because we don't want, any person being able to check into your classrooms from a self station as a volunteer. Because a lot of times churches kind of treat that name tag as like, this is your proof that you are supposed to be in here. So
Yeah.
we have it a little bit more locked down on purpose specifically for volunteers. That's a great question. But we do have a lot of tips and tricks for that. If you reach out to support and just say, hey, I want a smoother process for my volunteers, can you take a look at this with me? We have lots of tricks up our sleeve to help you figure out the situation that works best for you. Again, that was one of my 3 more I get to mention support.
Yeah.
We used one.
Yes, we'll need to start taking a tally of how many times. I
They're
love it.
really
That's
great. I
awesome.
promise. Please,
Yes,
please
they
let
are.
them
They
know.
are.
Don't
Yes.
struggle in silence. Let them know what
Yes.
you need.
Yes.
And I
So
always tell
good.
people we can do preventative care. So like don't feel like you got to
Right.
wait till it's broken. Like reach out beforehand.
Ah, absolutely. I love it.
Is that the last question there?
Yes, she said thank you.
Lovely. Oh, yes, of course.
Yes.
So yeah, right here, we're looking at our station type. Sorry, I kind of got off into ramble land for a little bit, but I'm coming back around. Manned versus self. So more self is the goal. Those are faster. There's less options for parents to get lost in. There's less time they're sitting there staring at it, reading, trying to ingest the information. That's going to be the faster station type. However, sorry, let me look at my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything there so that we don't miss anything important. There it is. Okay, sorry, I got scrolled up on accident when I tried to move Zoom. There we go. Okay, so another bonus tip that I recommend for people is have have a check-in station on your phone. I recommend every kids minister have the check-ins app on their phone, and then you can pop a station open on your phone. If your lobbies get backed up, you can just instantly be another check-in station. And we have a feature right here that I'll show you. It's called print to another station right here. So you can choose what station you want your phone printing to. So if I'm just like right here, at a check-in station, I notice things start kind of getting backed up. There's like, it might only be 4 families, but they might all have 6 kids. And so there's like
Right.
50 people in your lobby, and you're like, okay, if I could just get 1 or 2 of these families through, it would help a ton. You can just
Right.
pop your phone open and be like, hey, I can get you over here, and set your station to print to whatever station you're closest to. So this, let's say I'm closest to Jess's computer. I can save that. And then what this is going to do is I can just check them in on my phone real quick, and the labels will come out right there at whatever station I'm standing near, and I can grab them for them and get those people, moved along. So even with those like little ebbs and flows of traffic, that like 5 minutes before service starts, it really starts to get backed up. Have some like portable stations, have a couple people, your hallway people or yourself or, somebody on the host team who can just pop another station open and print to another station. That's a really, really powerful tool. And a lot of people already have that on there anyways for like the roster, if you're someone who kind of likes to keep an eye on the roster. But if you are one of those people and you have a roster station on your phone and you're like, well, I don't want to get my computer open and switch it to a self station so I can check people in, or a man station, like that, feels stressful. This is my other quick tip for stations to make check-ins go a little faster on Sunday mornings. You don't have to get on your computer to change these settings. So I'm actually going to share my screen just a little bit bigger because I've got a station open, and I want to show you guys a tool that'll kind of help you change your station type on the fly. This is another just like little quick win you can do. So right here, you'll see I have my station set to print to another station, and I had to come here to do that, right? So I'm in my stations tab, and I had to come here to get these settings. But on a Sunday morning, you don't want to carry around your laptop, and who goodness knows where I set it down last. I don't know if anybody else relates to that.
Yes. Yes.
I left it in the nursery, and I'm not going to find it for probably 3 more hours. So, like whatever.
Yep.
I don't have time to do that right now. You can get these same settings on your station by going to this little gear in the bottom right-hand corner. If you click that, you'll see a station key. Now, if you're out there and you're like, I don't know what that key is, I inherited this account from somebody else. I have never known what that key is.
Right.
Totally okay. If you forget everything I say, click on this button because it says not sure what this key is, because it'll take you to an article explaining how to add one. But I'm going to show you right now anyways. So if you come to your station page and you go, again, it's tucked in this little gear. This is another little gear, but this one's in check-ins. And you open it up and we go to station keys. This is where you can set this up. It's just a little 6-digit pin that's set for you to be able to access your station settings on the station. Now, this is hidden behind a pin because you don't want every, junior high kiddo that walks by to be able to change your station settings and put silly pictures on it, whatever else. So that's why there is a key there, but you can easily add one. You can manage existing ones. And, if there's any outdated ones, maybe clean some of them out. But you can add a key right here, a 6-digit pin. And then when you go to the station and you tap on that, you can just type in your pin. So you can see mine is very secure. There we go. And then you can change those settings right from here. You can pick which kind of station you're using at the moment. So it's an easy way. And this works on any station. So it doesn't just have to be the one on your phone. It's like if you need to change a different station because you need a couple more man stations, just pop over and change them. Use that station key. So that is just another little quick, like you could set one of those up here in 5 minutes and maybe have a smoother Sunday because you can change some of your stations around really quickly on the fly if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you do the print to another station feature we're talking about doing this on your phone, right?
Yep.
Does that require a Bluetooth computer? That is a question that was asked.
Oh, it requires you to have a station that is connected to a printer, and that's it. So let's have a example scenario. Here, I'm going to go back to sharing just a simpler view here so it's not quite as wide. But a scenario is like, okay, so you already have a check-in station out in your lobby somewhere. You have your iPad and your brother printer sitting there together, and that one is always running. Your device doesn't have to have any connection to any of those devices to use print to another station. It like None at all. It doesn't have to have any relationship to those stations. Print to another station just tells us what station you want us to send the print job to. So as long as you have access to the Wi-Fi or your LTE or whatever the case is, you need access to the internet.
Right.
But your phone usually does. You get on your station and then set what printer you want it connected to. You don't have to have it connected via Bluetooth or anything. It'll just go straight to, we'll tell it, check-ins will tell it like, hey, don't send it back down to this person, send it over here. So you don't have to worry about having that phone connected to a printer or getting too far away from it and it, maybe getting a little less consistent or anything like that. It's just, you could be out in the parking lot and send a label to that printer up there.
That's awesome.
Like,
That's awesome. I
it is
love that.
completely disconnected. Hopefully that answered the question there.
Yeah, that's helpful. We have another question real
Yeah,
quick, if you don't mind.
not at all.
Sometimes when parents check in on the self check-in, the kids label will print out saying someone on their trusted adults checked the child in, not the parent. If the parent does not specifically select themselves, is this based off of the trusted parent or trusted adult that recently checked in someone else to the system? Is the only way to prevent this to have the parent select their name as they check in?
That's a great question. So we've got a little bit of an algorithm that sets that trusted adult. I'm going to share my screen again with you so I can, I'll share
Yeah.
the station again so I can show you guys what I mean. Hold on, let me get it set up here. I'm making sure I've got a good example to show that. Yes. Okay. So we try to guess the right trusted person for you based on what contact information they searched by. So for
Got it.
example, if I'm on my station here and I search for myself, so I'm Aimee. So I typed in the word Aimee.
Yeah.
Aimee was set as the trusted person here, and that's the one that's going to be printed out on the label. Now, if I were to go back, sorry, I've got a lot of events running. If I were to say Ethan, that's my husband here. So I click same household. I clicked on, I just typed in Ethan. Now he's set. The
Got
same
it.
thing, the
Okay.
same thing is true for phone number. So if you type in the last 4 digits of somebody's phone number, it'll pull up that person. Now, the way that this can get askew that I would, if you're not seeing that be the case, I would check the household and make sure that the mom and dad don't have the same phone number because that's a very common culprit of why it's not suggesting the right person. If they do insist upon having the same phone number, like they just wanted to only provide one phone number, that's totally fine. They just might need to pay a little bit closer attention to who they're selecting in this drop down, if that makes sense. But if you can make sure they have the different phone numbers on their profiles and it's set as their primary, then it should automatically set it for them based on who they search for. That's the goal
Right.
anyways.
I love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Okay, here we go. Let's scoot back. Doing a lot of screen flip-flopping, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're doing
Cool.
great.
Thanks. Okay, are we ready to move on to our next kind of tip?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Lovely. Okay, so we just talked a lot about check-ins. Before we move away from check-ins, one thing I will say, just because we touched on printers a little bit, I kind of mentioned that concept of preventative care.
Yeah.
With printers specifically, if you're using like a Wi-Fi model or a Bluetooth model that relies on a lot of external factors like building interference or your network or where your router is, or if your church is streaming service, or if your kids' classrooms are streaming Yippee, at the same
Yeah.
time that you're trying to
Yes.
run check-ins, we have tools to help you problem solve too much bandwidth being taken up on your network, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I'm going to use another one.
Yeah.
If you're in a situation where every week you're like, man, we just cannot have a good time with keeping the printers wanting to hang on to the iPads. Church is kind of a unique thing where a lot of people get in the building and then a lot of Wi-Fi is taken up and people are getting on the guest network and there's a lot of internet that needs to be taken up. Church is kind of it's not just like your house where there's maybe
Right.
4 people here. It's like hundreds and hundreds of people. And so
Yeah.
your network needs a little bit of tweaking sometimes to make sure that your check-in stations are going to have the most reliable experience. So if you're in a situation where you're like, hey, every week they keep dropping, reach out to support, tell us what you're experiencing. Like, don't wait till it's broken to reach out. Like, tell us, when you're in a comfortable space to troubleshoot it so you're not feeling stressed about it. And we will work through that with you, give you some network tips, tell you what to look for, tell you what to consider, give you some other options. If you can't consider those other options, like we've got troubleshooting for days. So please, please reach out if you're in a situation where you're like, I need to troubleshoot my printers, reach out during the week and let us know what's going on. And we can, even if it's not happening right now, that's okay. Because a lot of times people are like, well, it's always fine during
Right.
the week, so I can't reach out.
Right.
No, you can. Tell us, like tell us on the
Yes.
weekends it's not doing the thing and we will help you problem solve it. So anyway, I just want to encourage you guys in that. If that's something that you're running into, don't struggle with that.
Yeah.
We can absolutely help you.
Love
Okay, moving on. The next thing that I wanted to jump in and tell you guys is lists and workflows. So, we were talking earlier, Sunday morning, lots of things happen. There's lots of pivoting that needs to happen. Sometimes things are unexpected, but there's some consistent things that you really want to happen. And Planning Center is really good at taking those things off your plate. So what I want to do is show you a way you can probably set this up in like 5 minutes, maybe 10, and you will never miss another first-time guest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to people, lists. Okay, so the lists feature. If you don't know what it is, this is a feature that pulls groups of people in based on conditions and rules. So I'm going to show you an example. I've got my first-time families list here. What I've done here, you'll see I've got some results. These are my first-time families. But what I did to get these people on this list was I added a rule, or there's rules and conditions in lists. So this is a condition that says, I want you to show me anybody who has first attended my check-ins event, Sunday services in the kids center ever. So if they first attended this check-ins event, I want to know about it. I want them to show up on this list. That's all it's doing. It's pretty simple. You could add more conditions if you want to like zoom it in. Like if you're looking for volunteers, you can say, hey, I want to find everybody in this who's checked into this check-ins event and was scheduled to volunteer. You can add any conditions you want to get the group of people you want, but we'll keep it simple for this example because I don't want to overwhelm anybody. You can make some pretty gnarly lists. Like if you really want to, you can make them super long. But this one works for first-time guests. You really don't have to add any conditions other than this. The other thing that I always like to point out is that now in theory, a lot of times adults don't check in at many churches. Some churches they do, but many churches, it's really only the kiddos checking in. So if I were to just pull this list, this is going to give me all the kids. And I, typically I'm wanting to reach out to their parents if I'm wanting to do some kind of like a first time guest follow-up experience. Usually, you might want to like send a postcard to the kid or something fun, but usually like you're wanting to interact with the parents. So what I did down here was I said my list should include the primary contacts of the matches here. We've got a couple different household adults of matches if you just want all the households or all the adults in the household. But this one will just give me one adult, the primary contact, whoever said like, hi, I'm the one that wants to be contacted for things. It's going to give me one adult per household. And that's who my list is going to pull. So if you come over here, you notice I've got a bunch of adults, which means these are people who have checked in a child to my event for the first time. These are my first time families. Now, This is a pretty wild number. Again, test data. It's not super accurate at the moment. 87 is kind of cool. I mean, cool. Like,
that's great.
Awesome.
We'll celebrate that. Yeah, it's wonderful.
It wouldn't be the case at my church, but like maybe,
Yeah.
So it's going to pull anybody who's first attended that event. Now, step 2. So that was step 1. All we had to do was come in here and make a rule that said, give me my first attended my check-ins event ever. That was it. Step 1. Then we hit save and it gave us a list of people. Step 2, I want to come to the settings and I want this thing to refresh every night. So that means every night it's just going to go see if there's anybody new that matches that criteria. Did anybody new check in today? That's really all it's looking at. You can also pick different frequencies, but nightly in this instance, because sometimes we have Tuesday night events and Wednesday night events, and sometimes there's Sundays. So like I run mine nightly. It's a little simpler. I don't have to think about it. So that was step 2. So 1, we pulled the list. 2, now it's going to roll. It's going to refresh every night and it's going to go look for new people. This is step 3, and it's the last step in getting you notified about new families. I'm going to come to the automations tab and I'm going to add new people on the list. So when a person is added to this list, add them to my first time guest workflow. And the workflow is really the cool tool where you get notified, the correct person gets notified, whoever it needs to be, and you can set up steps for them. I'm going to show you what that looks like, but this was it. There were 3 steps and now I get notified anytime I have a first time guest, and that probably took me 10 minutes to set up. I can show you what this workflow looks like. But first, do we have any questions about that before I move on? Nope.
No, I don't think we have any questions. I'd love to see what that workflow would look like.
Yes. So then what this is going to do is every night around between 1, 2 a.m. your time zone, it's going to refresh that list. Anybody who's new, it won't put everybody on the list back in the workflow every time because that would be madness. Just anybody who's new to the list is going to pop in and they're just going to get added. Oh, whoopsies. I have a hot corner and I keep locking my screen. I don't know if you can see that one happen.
You're good.
Anyway, so you go over to the workflow that I've got set up here, and they're going to pop in as little cards in my workflow. And you'll notice I've got some steps set up in the side. So anytime I have a first-time guest, I want to send them a welcome text. I want to change their membership status to visitor, and I want to do a follow-up call after a month. Now this, obviously these are completely customizable. So whatever steps your church does for first-time visitors, that's what you'd want to put here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anytime that list refreshes and somebody's on there, they're just going to pop over here. I'm the default assignee. So I'm going to get an email that says, hey, you had some first-time guests. You might want to go check that out. It's going to notify me. It'll also notify me over here in my little planning center bell. So when I log in, I'll see it. But I've got new people here that I need to, pay attention to. I want to make sure they go through this flow. If someone else was the default assignee, they would have gotten the email. So if I'm like, oh, I don't do, maybe I send the initial welcome text, but setting the membership status to visitor, maybe I want our church admin to do that. You can change who that default assignee is. And when I get in here, like, let's say I sent Aaron, the welcome text, like hey, thanks so much for visiting. We hope you had a great time. I hit complete step. And he's now going to move to the next step. So his card's down here, and now that's off my plate. And I just have a goal of keeping that thing at 0 as best I can. So
That's amazing. Yes.
So another cool thing about workflows is that you can actually take actions right in the card itself. So you really don't even have to travel outside of planning center. If you have a high capacity volunteer, or I mean outside of people in planning center, go to other products or anything.
Yeah.
You can always stay in planning center, but if you have a high capacity volunteer that helps you with these things, they can just have a workflow only permission, and they can see this and they can perform actions right from within the workflow card, and they don't need, you don't need to give them access to your whole system. So
Nice.
you can send emails, you can add a note if there's just something like, hey, I left a voicemail, I didn't hear back, so that you can communicate with your team, and we'll kind of keep a log here of what happened. And you can also perform an action. This is the super cool one. So I'm on the step, set membership status to visitor. I can actually just do that right here. Set membership type to visitor, and then I can hit perform action, and it'll just do that. And I didn't actually have to leave the card. And I can complete that step and move them on. So this just really makes your processes really easy. Depending on what you're trying to do, you can email people right from there, all of that good stuff. No one will ever fall through the cracks again with this, because it's just going to keep notifying you about them. So that's honestly, this would probably take you 5 or 10 minutes to set up, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. We'll take care of it. We'll let you know when you need to worry about it. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. Yes.
That's incredible.
Sorry, I get excited talking about that tool. I love that one.
It's
So cool.
amazing. Yeah. This is it takes off so much of your brain space, right? It frees it up, make sure things are done. I love it.
Don't worry about it in the background. Just focus on
Yeah.
those Sunday morning things that you need to focus on. Let us focus on this.
Yeah.
Another thing that I was going to mention, within here, you can also, this kind of pivots us onto our next little trick that I was going to move on to, if we're ready to kind of move on.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Cool. So within here, I showed you can send an email. There are email templates. This is another little quick win you can do to help streamline your processes, is by setting up some communication templates, because nobody ever wants to write an email more than once. I mean, I don't know, maybe some people do. I do not like to write emails.
Yeah.
Especially more than once. I don't want to say the same things over and over again. So we have a template feature where you can, you'll see we've got all kinds of stuff in here. Get ready for VBS. That happens every year. So we're kind of writing the same email every year, letting folks know it's time to register for VBS. So think about those things. What's the stuff that happens enough? I'm communicating this enough, and I don't really need to keep rewriting this. The thing I like about templates is still you writing it. It's still a personal touch from you, but maybe there's lots of people that need that information at different times. This is just a way to make it to where that saves you some time, because you got this template in here. So the one that a lot of times I think we've got one in here, but I don't remember what it's called. But basically it's like a welcome. Oh, welcome to children's ministry. That is the template you could send to this person, easily, and it would just drop it right in here. You'll also see you can manage templates right here. So this is a way to get and see what your templates are and make new ones if you want them. You could get to it from right here. But I'm also going to show you another way you can get to it. That's so that you don't feel like you have to go create a workflow and then add a person in it and open up a card to figure out how to edit your
That's
template.
fair. Yeah.
Because that would be a little wild. It's in the same little cog that we looked at for promoting grades. So if you come back over here and we say, it's an email settings. So you come right here, we open up the email settings. This is where you can give people the ability to send emails on your behalf. If you're like sending emails on behalf of the church or something like that, there is this tool right here, which is kind of neat and helpful. But we've also got email templates right here where you can see them, you can edit them. I think I've got like the birthday one. So I have an automation. Remember, we talked about the list process. I have a list that looks for anybody who has a birthday. And then I have an automation that sends them this email template when it's their birthday. So the list refreshes, it says it's their birthday, and it sends them an email template for me. So if we look at this one, it's got a fun little message about their birthday. Some people like to add coupons in here for like a free coffee at the cafe. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you if it's used by an automation. So like this one, it's used by my upcoming volunteer birthday automation that I have running. So it'll tell you where this, if you get in here to edit it, you can take a peek and see like, oh, is anybody else using this one? Do I maybe need to talk to somebody before I change it?
Right.
So we try to make it as simple as possible, but this is a really quick, easy way to streamline some of your stuff so that you can just automate emails that are from you, that you wrote, but you didn't have to worry about physically sitting down at your computer and writing it. We can send them, just through automations if you'll create a template for it.
I love it.
Yeah, awesome. So that one's a pretty quick one. That one's pretty straightforward. It's just templates, but like sometimes people don't know they're in there. So we always like to bring them up.
It's true. Yeah. And again, I think the more that people can take things off of their plate and their mind and really just focus on connecting with kids and connecting with families, it's always going to be a win. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to see, the upcoming volunteer birthdays. So I don't have any right now, but you'll see this is what this automation looks like. So it just says send email from template, and it's when a person's added to the list, they get sent this email, for me, because volunteers have birthdays on different days. So it's just like thing off your plate. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, another little tip. I don't love scenarios where I sent an email via an automation and then someone comes up to me at church and is like, thank you for the sweet email. And then I'm like,
what?
because I'm in kids ministry mode and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yep.
there is a setting right here. You can come in and you can actually subscribe to the list results. So this notifications, when this list auto refreshes, send an email notification to, in this situation, I would put myself right here so that I would get a little email that said, hey, this email went out to these 4 people that were new to the list. And then that way on Sunday, I've kind of got it in the back of my brain. If I encounter that person, I'm aware that it was their birthday. You know what I mean? Because I also because we want to celebrate them in person too. Not just the email, but so that's another tool you kind of have in your pocket is just subscribe to those list results, and that'll keep you in the know about what's happening in template land.
That's so smart. I love it.
Awesome. Okay, and then the last thing, I think my last little tip that I've got here, how are we doing on time? We okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, sweet.
Yep.
I was going to talk about volunteer scheduling, just some little tips you can do, because I know sometimes this can feel like a daunting process for people, but kids ministry needs more volunteers than anybody. Like in the whole church, I would argue it takes the most people to run kids ministry.
Yes.
And sending out that schedule, sometimes that can feel like a stressor. So I've got a couple little tips that you could set up very quickly. Oh, thanks. You can set up very quickly to help take some of the time it takes in placing people in those classrooms. Because I know a lot of people, they sit there and they want to, they put everybody like, oh, I know Miss Lisa goes here and I know Mr. Joe goes here. And, you've got this all mapped out in your head, it. But we can help you with a template. There's also a template and services you can use to where those like recurring people who go to the same spot every week. Because I know there's some people who are like
Yeah.
floaters. They go between classrooms and that's totally valid, makes total sense. But there are some people where it's like, no, they're always in the twos and she does the lesson in there and that's
Yeah.
her space. You can make a template to where that person is just always in that space. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. I have this service type right here called elementary. So this is where I schedule my elementary. Some people all have it all together. There's just a kids ministry one. That's a perfectly valid way to do that. If you don't see it broken out like this, don't panic. You can do it all kinds of ways, but I've got mine broken out. You know, maybe a larger church would probably want a little, you know, maybe somebody's over elementary and someone else is over preschool. That's probably why you would do that. But if you run the whole thing, you can have it all in the same one. So right here, if I go into my little settings, you'll see there is a template setting. But first I'm going to start with teams. So you come in here and these are my elementary teams. These are, you know, we've got people at check-in stations. We based our example based on Orange curriculum. So if you're familiar with it, there's a large group time, there's a small group time, and there's worship. And then we've got test data. Nursery shouldn't be in there. This is elementary, but we'll pretend that's not there.
Yeah, fair.
So these 4 are the ones that we would like focus in on. So check-in station, we've got people in here who are my check-ins team. Like these are the people who are like help with check-ins. And then within this team, I've got positions. So I've got some people that run check-in. I got some people that run check-out. I've got just general greeters. If you've got different positions within the room, that's what this space is for. So you have your team within your, you know, elementary service type, and then there are positions within that team. So, you know, another example of this is if I, you know, within large group, someone's the host, and then usually there's a different person who's like the storyteller. So someone gets up and introduces the lesson, and then someone else comes out and does the object lesson. You know, you might want to, you might kind of want to separate those 2 roles. Or there's the like kind of administrative person who like watches the door in the classroom and like handles kind of the admin tasks. And then there's the communicator. You could split it up like that. There's no wrong answer. It's however your room runs. It's meant to be flexible like that. But you want to build these teams, put people in the teams and add your positions, because when you do this, and this might take you just a little bit of time, you could sit down. I'm confident you could do it this week and get your teams built, because you know those people up in your head. I mean, that you schedule every week. These are the people you're like in the weeds with, you know, on Sunday.
True. Yep. Absolutely.
It's pretty easy to drag them into little teams, and you kind of know what position they're in. So you could make this, but then what you can do from there is go over and make a template. So this is the quick time saver. So if you already have your team set up, this will be even quicker. If you don't have team set up, I would really encourage you to take that step and do that, because it's just going to save you so much time. But I come right in here. This is my template. I have an elementary template that I use. So I'm going to click on this one. You'll see right here, I've already got some people placed like we described. For a large group, Kimmy Gibbler does the lesson every time. She probably won't. She'll probably do this for the next 10 years. That's her spot. She's always going to be on there. I don't ever want to put her on the schedule again, because I know she's on the schedule. She's going to be there unless there's a vacation or something. But in that case, I can put her on this template. So this looks just like a normal scheduling week, but it's a template version of it. And I'll show you how to apply that in a minute so that you don't have to do this every week. You just set this one time. And then we have this thing called needed positions. So if I come in here and I say needed positions, I can choose how many people I need for each one of those positions you saw in the teams. That's what this is looking at. So in your team, you had those little positions. I can choose how many of those I need for every week. So I might have 4 people that can teach the lesson, but I only need 1 to teach the lesson every week. So I can just say I only need 1, or maybe I need 2. So I've got a set person, and then I have another person that I want, because I always want there to be 2 so they can alternate lesson. You know, somebody does the game and somebody does snack. You can set up exactly what you need to, what you know you need to run the room right here with the needed positions, plus adding in your permanent people. I'm going to say done there. So this is what my average Sunday needs to look like. I need 1 person here. I need 2 people here. I need 4 check-in people. I don't have anybody who's like consistent every week. They all like to rotate. So I'm not going to have anybody permanently on there. From here, once you save this, I can apply this template when I make my week. So I'm going to come back out here to my plan, and I'm like, okay, it's time to schedule for next week. Ideally, typically we recommend you schedule like a quarter out because we want to send people as few emails as possible. But for the example's sake, we'll just say we're going to make one for next week. So I'm going to add my plan. I'm going to use my elementary template. It knows I used this last time, so it just put it in there for me. So you really honestly won't even need to click this every time, really only the first time. And I'm copying times from a previous week I had created. This is all probably pretty standard stuff you've run into. But right here, when I apply this template, that means when I make my week, here we go. It created it, it added in all the people, and it's got the needed positions in there so I know what I need to fill, and I didn't have to do all of that work manually every single time I do it. You can also add a service order in the template if you want to, just as like a little added bonus. If you always know, snack takes about 5 minutes and then we move on to craft and that takes about 5 minutes, you can kind of put that flow in there and then you don't have to put it in there every week and your volunteers can see this. So they don't have to ask you every Sunday, what's the flow of service? When are we doing this? When are we doing this? You could just put it right in here.
Yeah.
I'll digress from that. That's just like an extra little nugget. Let me know if you have questions about that. But right here, I've got all this filled in. And then this is the cool part. Okay, so I had teams set up, right? We put all the people into the little buckets that they go in. And then right here, I placed in my people that I knew needed to be in the spots they needed to be in because they're in my template. And I know how many people I need for each spot. I can come right here and I can say, I'm going to go. Oh, where's my teams? Hold on just a second. Here we go. I'm going to come right here to actions. And I'm going to say auto schedule. And this is going to look at everybody who's on my team for all of these places because it knows which teams go with which space. And it's just going to fill in all my needed positions. So when I said I needed 4 people in check-ins, I'm going to add in all my team areas. I'm going to say submit. There we go. So see over here, it's just filling things in for me.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I didn't have to do anything. It was great. I just pushed a button. So now if you come down here, we were kind of using check-ins as the example. You remember I had 4 people I needed. It put in 4 people and it kind of looked at their availability. But it won't put people in who aren't available. So if they have a blockout date or they're like, oh, I want to serve every other week, or they have some kind of a conflict, they were already scheduled somewhere else, it won't include those people. I can kind of show you what that looks like. If I come in here and I just manually want to put somebody in the 2nd and 3rd grade space, see, I've got one needed right here because I removed that guy. I can click right here to add somebody and it'll tell me who I've got left with no conflicts. So I could pick either of these people. I can't pick Stephanie because she's got a conflict. She's already scheduled somewhere else. Will's missing a background check because this is a secure location. So it knows he needs a background check. And Hannah doesn't want to serve on the 5th week of the month. So she's not going to qualify for this one because it's a 5th week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to choose Bruce and I'm going to put him in there. There we go. So you can also do it that way too. You can kind of do it manually, but the auto scheduler looks at those things I just showed you and it'll piece only people who are available so that you don't have to do all the mathing because that's just so time consuming trying to sit there and figure out the schedule. I've spent many hours pre-planning trying to map the schedule and, people are texting me like, oh, I can't do that one, but I could do the next 3, but I could maybe do a different service like that. We can handle that. So anyways, I know that's the loftiest one to describe, but really if I could just sum it all up, I'd say get your team set. If you already have team set, make a template and then you can use that every week and use the autofill and it'll just flow in for you and you don't have to stress about trying to math out everybody's availability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions about that?
This has been so great, Aimee. And I know that, everybody that joined today, they stayed on pretty much the whole time. And so I think that really does show, that this information is so needed in our community. This is definitely a pain point, I think, for a lot of children's pastors is this time of year can feel a little bit stressful. We are about out of time, but we have 2 quick questions that hopefully you can maybe help answer. Can you set up a template for those who serve every other week?
That's a great question. I believe the answer to that is yes, but because I think there's an option for that when you add them to the template, but I don't want to tell you anything incorrect. I would recommend reaching out to support. That was my 3rd one I get to use.
Yeah, right. There you
Reach
go.
out to support. Yeah, tell them
one.
that's something you want to do and just say, hey, I want to know when I make a template, can I schedule people every other week? Again, I think the answer is yes, but I don't want to say anything incorrect because things, we're always constantly improving things and adding new features. So there might be a better way to handle that. Even if I knew you could, there might be a better way to do it. So reach out to support with that one if you don't mind.
Awesome. And then the last one is, will auto schedule recognize if volunteers were scheduled previous week to create rotation of volunteers?
Yes. So it will schedule by default the people who haven't served in the longest amount of time. So it counts how many weeks ago that person served. I can actually show you super fast
Yeah.
right here. So like if I were to come and remove this person one more time so that we have another needed person here. See this like negative 14 weeks, 0 weeks, 15 weeks, again, test data. We don't
Yep.
schedule in here all the time.
Yep.
But
Yep.
this will tell you how many, this is a representation of how long it's been since they've served. And it will always choose the highest. He's reset to 0 because he was scheduled. But in the next rotation, it would pick Simone because she hasn't served in a longer time away from Bruce. So I don't feel like that made any sense. But yes, it does do that. It chooses who hasn't served the farthest back to default for the schedule so that people are kind of, it won't pick the person at the top of the list every week. So like this same lady at the top isn't always going to get scheduled by default. It'll choose the one who hasn't been.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. And then one more question, and then we need to wrap it up because we are at the hour. So do the volunteers need to download the service app so they can block dates they aren't available? Does it only email or can it text volunteers as well?
It can text volunteers. You can email. The texting is, I believe, through it kind of matters. There's something with service provider. So there is something about services texting. Again, sorry, a services support agent would know all the details of
Yeah.
that. So I would reach out with that specific question. As far as the first question, they don't have to download the services app, but there is some information in there that is helpful to them, like seeing that services order, or like if you
Right.
attached any files in here, like you have a kids ministry manual or something you want to make available, the services app is going to be the best way for them to access that kind of information. So I typically recommend like, hey, if you've got like a classroom lead, like someone who's like in charge of that room and needs that information, I would kind of strongly recommend they try to get the services app. But you can also accept or decline serve requests in Church Center. So if your church uses the Church
Yeah.
Center app, you can access, they can access their serve requests there, or they can interact with it on the web if they prefer to use their computer. And a lot of times you can just accept or decline right in your email. So if you have people who it's just literally just accepting and declining, and that's really all they need to do, they can do that right from their email and they don't really have to log into anything.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
there's a wide range of tools for like a wide range of positions, depending
Yes.
on what they're
Yes.
doing. You might want to encourage it if they're like leading the space. If they're not, they could not have the services app and have a perfectly lovely time accepting and declining right in their email.
Right. Yeah. No, that's amazing. Awesome. Well, Aimee, this has been wonderful. Thank you
So
so
good.
much.
Of
Would
course.
you mind just praying for our community on our way out today?
Yeah, absolutely. Not, absolutely. I'd love to. Lord, thank you so much for this time we had together. Lord, I ask you to help this information not to feel overwhelming, but encouraging, Lord. Help people to remember that we are there with them, Lord, and that we can help them if they'll reach out, Lord. But I also just ask you to, watch over them as they're going, give them patience on Sunday mornings, Lord, to deal with those things that pop up, God. And I just ask you to help them all have a wonderful next rest of their weekend in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for your time today and have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.